To be kept up to date on the history of Ultraman's television production, please see my retrospective on Ultraman Great. It's 1992. Ultraman Towards the Future, otherwise known as Ultraman Great, just finished its syndication in the US. The series was not only a popular success for Tsuburaya Productions, it was the studio's first major cable hit since Ultraman 80, which completed its run in 1981. Emboldened by this success, and eager to capitalize on the recognition Ultraman still had among American audiences at the time, following the release of Towards the Future, Tsuburaya decided to produce yet another Ultraman series overseas. And what country was their new land of choice? Sounds awesome, right? I mean, a well-known science fiction series, beloved the world over, being produced in the same country that wowed the world with the astonishing visual effects of King Kong, Sinbad, and Star Wars. It sounds like a match made in heaven. Tsuburaya already had the country picked out and the funds ready to go. The last thing they needed was to find a crew willing and capable of pulling off the ambitious task of producing 13 episodes of an Americanized version of a very famous Japanese show to the fullest extent, with the best quality and skill they could muster. And as luck would have it, they managed to snag various cinematographers and effects artists who worked on films like Star Wars, Alien, Batman Returns, and Terminator 2. Damn! It was like a gift from God was laid on Tsuburaya's front doorstep, all wrapped up and tied together with a gold ribbon. What more could you ask for, right? Well, I could probably think of a few things. For starters, they could produce the series for a fraction of the cost to make Towards the Future. They can build monster suits that only go through so much struggling before they quickly start to rip apart. Oh, and they can also hire a film crew composed of men and women who are mostly either complete newcomers to the industry, or have some minor background work that includes such noteworthy classics like Robot Apocalypse, Bikini Car Wash Company 2, Night Games, Sorority House Massacre 2, Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity, and Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death, among countless other B-grade horror movies, exploitation films, and other schlock.
You serious?
I mean, with a concept like that, what could possibly go wrong? Yes, Ultraman Powered, known outside Japan as Ultraman the Ultimate Hero, was Tsuburaya's attempt at capitalizing on their most iconic character and franchise in the American market. Sadly, the entry became a notorious blunder for the studio, as Powered is often regarded by Ultra fans as the weakest entry in the entire franchise. Most of the negativity is directed towards the show's effects, most notably its mediocre fighting choreography between Ultraman Powered and the opposing monsters, which were all very slow and almost completely absent of any noteworthy action. This was due to the suits, though excellent in detail and design, were also extremely delicate. Owing to the show's minuscule budget and tight schedule, the crew couldn't spare any extra bucks or time to repair the suits if they suffered frequent damages. Their decision to rely on slower movements sealed the show's fate, as audiences expected so much more from an Ultra series from the West. A Western Ultra series that didn't even air on American airwaves, to be precise, because Tsuburaya either couldn't or wouldn't provide the residuals for all of the on-screen performers, no matter how large or small their role was.
You're joking. I can't believe I'm hearing this.
While it was supposed to air on American syndication around 1993, it didn't make its way to Japan until 1995, where Tsuburaya only needed to pay royalties to the lead actors, and nothing for the supporting actors. This was a sad revelation for Tsuburaya, who'd hoped an American-made Ultra show could produce the type of visuals and action witnessed in other sci-fi epics that had come out in recent years. Their overconfidence may have gotten too much to their head in pre-production, as they seem to have overlooked the fact that a lot of the films they used for inspiration were made with big budgets and an experienced crew, a feat Ultraman Powered strongly lacked. While the production was helmed by a few artists who already had experience working in their respective field, such as Kevin Hudson, Joseph Viscosil, and even a young Shinji Higuchi, who began his long career as the assistant special effects director for 1984's The Return of Godzilla, and would later go on to co-direct 2016's Shin Godzilla. A majority of the crew had very little experience working in film or television, minus a few low-budget flicks by Charles Band and some exploitation movies, while others went on record stating that Ultraman the Ultimate Hero was their breakout in the business. Insert the "I'm so shocked to learn this" meme here. Things only got worse when the contract kept the crew of Tsuburaya Productions predominantly in Japan, leaving the American crew to work at the show's production studio, Major Havoc Studios, without Tsuburaya's supervision or professional input to ensure the production would move smoothly and efficiently for the series. Now let's talk about the studio where this show was being developed. Just what is Major Havoc Studios? Who formed it? When was it developed? What kind of history does it have with movies and television? Well, I'm glad you asked. You see, Major Havoc Studios was the brainmaster behind some of the most influential works of fiction, like To be honest, I really don't know, and I doubt anyone else in the world knows of their history either, let alone any contributions they made before The Ultimate Hero. Major Havoc Studios, from what little info I've managed to gather on them, was a small film studio made sometime shortly before Ultraman the Ultimate Hero went into production. For all anyone knows, Ultraman Powered was their first major production. Might even be their only creation. The staff already attached to it was likely just a bunch of nobodies, like the rest of the crew assembled for the series, making it perhaps one of the worst business partners Tsuburaya could have chosen to take on the demanding task of developing and morphing an American-made Ultraman show. And if you think that sounds bad now, just wait until we crawl a little deeper into the rabbit hole, and then you'll see precisely how badly Tsuburaya screwed up this entry with their lousy business decision. But before we get to that, I'd first like to pose a question that I'm sure a lot of you are wondering right now. Despite all the negatives surrounding the turnout of the show, what with the low-budget quality of the sets and effects, the poor fighting choreography, among other issues, is the show actually any good? Are there any redeemable feats that can be found in the 13 episodes? Was the show a complete waste of time and resources, and should therefore just be buried and forgotten? Based on the info I've already shared, you all probably have an answer that isn't going to benefit the show's chances of finding a future audience. But could there be something underneath that dark veil that's shadowing another side of this show that's perhaps invisible to those who choose to remain blinded by the more notorious aspects that have plagued it since its 1995 premiere in Japan? Well, let's take a deeper look into it ourselves before we cast our verdict. And before we continue any further, I'd first like to thank Gorzard TV for letting me use his uploaded episodes of Ultraman Powered, which all came from the series' Blu-ray release in Japan. The picture and audio quality far exceeds what I got on the bootleg DVD I purchased at G-Fest, which was all dark and grainy. If you like Ultraman, definitely follow Gorzard TV on his channel, where he uploads full episodes of various Ultraman shows, even in their English dubbed form. Now, on to the long-awaited review. The story begins in the command center of WINR, Worldwide International Network Response, an organization devoted to the study and eradication of unusual forces that threaten the planet. The team there begins to analyze the remains of what appears to be some kind of cocoon, shed from a creature of extraterrestrial origin. Shortly after they run their analysis, their radar catches the movement of a spaceship outside of Earth's orbit. Winner prepares to attack the ship with her satellite, but a second unknown signal, in the form of a sparkling red light, intervenes by destroying the satellite. The red light then proceeds to Earth, crashing down somewhere in the southern area of California. As if that weren't enough, the team then receives an update that 2 police officers are killed by an unseen entity in a warehouse. as it's their obligatory duty to investigate any type of strange phenomena to keep the planet safe. Winter splits into two groups. One, with Captain Edlund and Rick Sanders, to investigate the warehouse disturbance, while the other, Kenichi Kai and Teresa Beck, is sent to examine the crash site of the second UFO. Inspecting the building where the officers went missing, the two men quickly discover the culprit still lurking in the shadows of the dark building, emitting a deep, sinister laugh, as if it were high on laughing mushrooms.
What's it?
At the same time, the other team arrives at the crash site of the red UFO, revealing a crater too deep to see the bottom. Kenichi Kai steps down to take a closer look, before being consumed by a red flash emanating from the bottom of the massive fissure. A robot-like voice telepathically communicates to him that he is an alien from Nebula M78. He's on a mission to stop the aliens, known as the Baltons, from conquering Earth. If Winter attacked the mothership, the Baltons would have attacked the planet with full force, which is why he intercepted the way he did. He explains to Kai that he requires a host in order to exist on Earth.
What do you want from me?
I can't exist on your planet without a host. In order to fight them, I need to merge with your body, but I can only appear for 3 minutes at a time. Any longer, neither of us would survive. I promise I'll never control your mind. Kai, we have no time left.
Pursuing the alien through the tunnels, Commander Edlund and Rick Sanders stumble upon 3 of the Baltons, which then merge together to form into a giant alien body.
Okay. Okay, so now we got a bigger target.
Man, where are the dinosaurs when you need them? This is a 1993 Americanized rendition of a Japanese tokusatsu series, after all. After Balton causes a brief amount of damage to the city, the strange light reappears once again, manifesting into a gigantic red and silver humanoid titan. The two clash for a bit, before the humanoid alien vanquishes the Balton with his Spacium Ray. With the alien gone, the Balton mothership retreats back into space, and the humanoid flies into the air, disappearing into the night sky before reverting back into the form of Kenichi Kai, unbeknownst to his team. Knowing the Baltons have not conceded their conquest of Earth, the Space Titan informs Kai that he'll remain on the planet a little longer, until the danger is absolutely over.
I wonder who he is.
He's the ultimate Superman.
Ultraman.
Ultraman.
Oh, he sure doesn't look like a woman.
Please, don't give Chris Chibnall any ideas. In the following episodes, Winter encounters additional monsters and aliens that wreak havoc on the human-populated regions. Whenever the danger is too deadly for Winter to combat through human means, Kai pulls out his beta capsule to change into Ultraman to defeat the monster and save the people around him, always repeating this same process until the end of the series. On the surface, this plot synopsis sounds like your basic setup for a traditional Ultraman series like the ones already made in the past. But sadly, this one just doesn't have much going for it, compared to the older and later entries. It's not merely terrible or anything like that, not exactly anyway, but needless to say, there are a few factors that are missing from this Americanized entry that let a lot of people down. For starters, the show acts as a sort of remake of the original Ultraman series from 1966, recycling the plot, conflict, and monsters from 13 of the 39 older episodes, and recycling them individually for the 13 episodes of this series. They aren't complete copies of the classic episodes. The creators have the right idea to twist a few elements around, making the stories present some originality through them, but the recognizable factors are still there, leaving little to completely surprise the viewers who are all hardcore fans of the original show, and who all wish to see something fresh from a succeeding series. especially when the size and scale of each episode looks rather small when compared to the presentations of nearly every episode of all the preceding Ultra shows. We probably would have gotten some original content if the show hadn't been as poorly handled as it was, and these issues extend far beyond what we got on screen. There were some major problems that plagued the Ultimate Hero behind the screen as well, and I'll get onto that in a little bit. As far as Ultra series go, the episodes from Ultraman Powered aren't necessarily bad per se. Minus the kaiju action, they're actually pretty entertaining stories, despite their lack of originality. Putting aside the sloppy fighting scenes, the episodes would probably resonate more if they had a stronger sense of humor, rather than focus so much of its energy on being so straightforward. In fiction, humor often aids the audience's sense of disbelief, allowing us to dismiss a lot of the cons of what we see and hear on screen, whether it's relative to the plot, acting, or line delivery. The original Ultraman recognized this with a lot of its sillier episodes, choosing to amplify the humor in various scenes to allow the viewer to endure a more enjoyable experience with the episode without having to take everything so seriously. In Powered's case, the only humor we get are random quips from the main cast, which are all mostly derivative one-liners that don't require much thought, or variations of pop culture lines and gaffes that just feel cliched.
Smile for the camera, you big ugly. Come on, baby, open up and say, ah.
Big fan of Jaws 2, are you?
Open wide! Open wide! Say
As I said before, the entire series is a recreation of 13 episodes from the original Ultraman series from 1966 and 1967, or I guess 14 older episodes, since Gamora's episode, The Monster Prince, was a two-parter, which the writer for Ultraman Powered decided to adapt into a single episode for this series. In the original show, Ultraman is pursuing a space monster named Bimular, which eventually leads him to Earth, where he merges with Shin Hayata after inadvertently killing the man. In the second episode, Ultraman and the human cast are forced into a deadly struggle against the Baltons, who want to invade the planet. While in Powered, the Baltons are the reason why Ultraman came to Earth in the first episode. Bimular is entirely absent from this series.
What's so funny? I made you something very special.